Welcome back. I'm Jen Lepore, Marketing Team Coordinator here at Custom Processing, and Willow is back with us. She is the Business Unit Manager here at CPS, and she's stopping by with more on our comprehensive analytical lab with a focus on how it benefits now our specialty chemical customers. So thanks for joining again.
Of course.
So let's start with some quick clarification. Can you explain what specialty chemicals means to CPS and what type of customers do we help in this space?
Of course. So at CPS, when we talk about specialty chemicals, we are referring to high value, performance driven materials that are often tailored for a specific application or function. These aren't bulk commodities. They're custom formulated or precisely engineered to meet strict performance, purity, or regulatory needs. Our lab supports specialty chemical customers across a range of industries like coatings, adhesives, personal care, performance additives, advanced materials, and chemical intermediates even. Many of our clients are innovating with new ingredients, working with tight specs, or scaling up unique processes, and they need analytical support to validate their quality, troubleshoot anything in production, or meet customer and regulatory demands.
So, of that list, are there any you've worked with more frequently recently? A possibility that kind of comes to my mind to me is EV battery powders. We've gained some traction there. Is that accurate?
Yeah, absolutely. That was, as soon as you asked this question, that's what I was going to say. Yeah, we've definitely seen way more activity lately in electric vehicle battery materials, particularly specialty powders using cathodes, anodes, and supporting components. These materials often require extremely tight control over the particle size, the purity, the trace metal content, which lines up perfectly with our lab's capabilities. We're supporting clients who are developing or scaling up powders like lithium iron phosphate, nickel-based materials, and conductive additives. Whether they need elemental analysis by ICP-MS, surface contamination checks, or particle size distribution data, we're helping them validate performance and meet those quality expectations, especially as the industry pushes for those tighter specs and cleaner formulations. So yes, EV battery materials definitely fall within that specialty chemical space, and it's a segment where our lab is becoming an increasingly valuable partner.
Great. So, we've talked about the CPS ISO 17025 accreditation our lab earned. So, can you kind of briefly recap the advantages of the accreditation, but more so for our specialty chemical customers?
Yeah, of course. So ISO 17025 is the international standard for testing and calibration laboratories. And having this accreditation means our lab meets strict criteria for technical competence, method validation, traceability, and quality management. So for our specialty chemical customers, this offers real peace of mind. It means the data we generate, whether it's for the purity, the trace metals, the particle size, or any other spec that they're looking for, it's reliable, repeated, and audit ready. So that's especially important with customers who are scaling up those new formulations, working under customer contracts, or exporting to markets where documentation really matters.
Yeah, I mean, you kind of touched a little bit on it. So, how does the ISO certification reassure specialty chemical customers of the consistent repeatability of testing and processes?
Yeah, it is all about consistency. And that's exactly what specialty chemical customers need when they're working with those tight specs and high performance materials. So the accreditation requires us to validate our methods, calibrate our instruments regularly, and follow documented procedures for every test that we run. So that means if you send us the same material next month or even next year, you can expect the same process and the same reliable results. For specialty chemicals, where even small deviations can impact product performance, that level of repeatability is critical. whether it's elemental composition, particle size distribution, purity. Our customers know the results aren't just accurate once, they're accurate every time. So the ISO cert doesn't just say our lab is qualified, it proves that our systems are built for precision and consistency over the long haul.
So, what would you say your business case for specialty chemical customers to use the CPS single lab full suite approach?
So it really comes down to speed, reliability, and simplicity. Specialty chemical companies often deal with complex materials and tight project timelines. When they work with CPS, they're getting a single lab solution with a full suite of analytical capabilities. Our HPLC, our GC, our LC triple quad, our ICP, our XRF. All of that is under one roof. That means no delays from shipping samples to multiple labs, no inconsistent data sets from different vendors, and no confusion about who's responsible for what. We can handle everything from raw material qualification to in-process troubleshooting to the final QC, all with a consistent team, validated methods, and the ISO 17025 traceability. So for specialty chemical companies trying to move quickly, trying to reduce risk, and just impress their own customers with high quality data and fast turnaround, this model makes both logistical and financial sense. So we don't just provide results, we're streamlining the path from development to delivery to their customers.
So, what unique challenges do specialty chemical customers kind of bring to you? Can you tell us a little bit about that?
They often bring us some of the most unique and complex challenges that we see. And that's part of what makes this space so interesting. These materials are typically highly customized, which means they don't always fit into standard testing methods. So we get asked things like, can you detect trace impurities in this non-standard matrix? Or can you confirm particle size after thermal or mechanical treatment? Sometimes they're working with sticky, reactive, or highly engineered powders that require creative sample prep or modified techniques to analyze them accurately. Another common challenge is rapid change. So customers are innovating so quickly and adapting formulations or responding to client specific specs, and they need the lab to keep pace. Because we have a broad range of instrumentation and in-house method development, we can move quickly to build or adapt tests that actually work for those unique materials. So at the end of the day, specialty chemical customers need a lab that can think alongside them, not just run a checklist. And that's what we focus on.
Yeah. So how would you say regulatory compliance factor into their needs?
It definitely plays a big role, even if it's not always front and center. Depending on the industry, they may need to meet REACH or TSCA or ROHS or FDA guidelines to prove to their own customers that the materials are safe and consistent and properly characterized. And that's where we come in. So our ISO 17025 accreditation gives them confidence that the data we generate is traceable and scientifically sound and audit ready. So whether they're submitting documentation for registration, responding to a customer's quality demands, or just protecting their reputation, compliance is always in the background. And because regulations can vary by end use, like coatings versus cosmetics versus battery components, we can help tailor the testing approach to match what is actually relevant, so they're not over testing or missing something that's super critical.
So how would you say the lab helps our customers meet requirements? Are there any efficiencies gained by partnering with the toll processor with an in-house lab capability?
Yeah. So by offering the validated, reliable testing that aligns with both the regulatory and customer specific specs. So whether it's confirming elemental content, verifying the particle size, or even ensuring the absence of like banned substances, we're equipped to deliver data that stands up to internal audits and external scrutiny. So because our lab is in-house, part of a larger toll processing operation, there's a major efficiency gain. So instead of sending materials to an outside lab and waiting days or weeks for results, everything happens under one roof. And that means real-time feedback, faster batch approval, and the ability to make process adjustments immediately if something is out of spec. It's not just about speed, though. It's about having direct access to both the processing and analytical sides of the operation. So that level of integration helps our customers reduce downtime, it's lower cost, and maintain a higher level of quality control throughout the entire production life cycle.
Let's touch some more on advanced technologies in the lab that align with specialty chemical applications. So I'm aware that the GCMS is particularly key for vitals. For example, how does it help you pinpoint off odor or solvent residue issues in coatings and polymers?
One of the key ways we use it is to identify the off odors, residual solvents in materials like coatings, adhesives, and polymers. So if a customer reports that a batch has a chemical smell or an unexpected vapor release, the GCMS lets us break down the volatile organic compounds present, even if they're at very low levels. It separates out the individual components in the sample's vapor phase and then uses mass spectrometry to identify each one. So that means we can pinpoint exactly what's causing the odor or residue, whether it's a leftover solvent, degradation, byproduct, or contamination from like raw materials. For industries where performance and perception matters, like consumer packaging, electronics, or even automotive materials, this kind of insight is critical.
Right. So here's another example. Catalyst metals. They can make or break a reaction. So how do you deploy the ICP-MS to ensure that they stay in spec?
Yeah, catalyst metals are often the unsung heroes of specialty chemical processes. But if they're out of spec, the entire reaction can fail or create these unwanted byproducts. And that's where the ICP-MS comes in. So it's one of the most sensitive and precise tools we have for detecting trace metals, even at parts per billion or parts per trillion levels. We use our ICP-MS to verify that catalyst metals like platinum, palladium, nickel, or rare earth metals are present at the right concentrations, whether they're part of the active formulation or potential residues from processing. So if a catalyst is too low, the reaction might not go to completion. Too high, and you may have regulatory cost or downstream purity issues. This level of control is especially important for customers in advanced materials or electronics or fine chemicals, where even minor variations in trace metals can impact their performance or compliance.
So we're talking some generalities here, and I'm kind of curious, can you recall any types of case studies that illustrate how our lab services helped customers overcome challenges or innovate some better results?
Yes, one that comes to mind involved especially chemicals manufacturer working on a polymer additive for high performance coatings. They were seeing inconsistencies in product performance between pilot and scaled up batches and weren't sure if the issue was with the raw materials, the processing, contamination. So we stepped in with this multi-level approach. So we used our GCMS and we identified a trace level residual solvent that was only present in one of the raw material lots. And this was just something that had slipped past their internal checks. We then confirmed with the ICP-MS that there were no unexpected metals contributing to the reaction issues, and then followed up with particle size analysis to confirm the additive dispersion characteristics, and just making sure that they were consistent batch to batch. And the result was they were able to isolate the problem, correct their raw material sourcing, and then move forward with a clean, high-performing product without the cost of downtime or like retooling the process or anything like that. So that's really where our lab shines, not just in generating data, but in helping customers solve those real-world problems quickly with tools that give us a full picture of what's happening in their product.
So kind of taking all that we talked into consideration, how would you kind of summarize maybe the top 3 to 5 benefits of a specialty chemical manufacturer gains by, partnering with CPS, given our lab capabilities that you described?
The first thing that stands out is just speed and efficiency. So with our full suite of analytical capabilities in-house, customers get the faster turnaround time and real-time problem solving. There's no need to coordinate with multiple labs or wait weeks for results. Second, I would say confidence in data, of course, because our ISO 17025 proves that. It means our results are traceable, scientifically sound, and audit ready. I can't say that enough. Whether it's for just internal QC or customer documentation or those regulatory filings, the data holds up. And then I would say technical insight and flexibility. Again, we don't just run tests, we help troubleshoot and customize methods and adapt to unique materials. And that's super critical in specialty chemicals where innovation and variability are the norm. Consistency and repeatability. Our systems ensure that results are repeatable batch after batch, and that's vital for quality control and process validation. And then I would say the last thing is just our integrated support. So by having direct access to our scientists, customers can move from question to answer very quickly, whether they're scaling up a new product or solving a formulation issue or validating specs. We help keep projects on track and moving forward. So it's really about being more than just a lab. We act as an extension of their own technical team.
Awesome. Well, thanks again for joining us and giving us some great insight about the analytical lab. I greatly appreciate it. And thank you everyone for watching Custom Processing Toll Manufacture Minute. Again, if you have any types of questions on how CPS Analytical Lab can help solve your specialty chemical challenges or help you achieve your goals, just reach out to our team. Also, be sure to subscribe to our CPS blog to rewatch and catch up on all the podcasts and get the latest news and insights from all of our experts, and we'll catch you next time.